I'm so excited here. Good morning, CSL. I'm Reverend Skip Jennings, and it is my honor and my privilege to be here this morning. Last night we had a gala, y'all. It was amazing. It was my first. Oh, it was so good, and y'all looked so good. So anyway, we have some core values here. We have 7 core values, and they are love, healing, oneness, abundance, spiritual growth, service, and diversity. Today we're going to focus in on service. It is again my honor and privilege to bring up our brand new Sacred Service Coordinator, Maya Blyther. Come on up. Yeah, this is really big.
Thank you, Rev Skip. Thank you so much. And my name is Maya. And it's a pleasure to be up here. Thank you for allowing me to be of service to this community. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and why service is so important to me. I'm a recovering addict, and my addiction took me to a very dark place. I was consumed with resentment, anger, and fear. I was isolated, alone, and spiritually bankrupt. And it was service from others initially who brought a message of hope to me. Some of those women who happen to be sitting in the audience today, that saved my life, quite literally. So I've been taught to give back so that I can keep what I have today, which is amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So I like to think of sacred service here as the heartbeat of our community. It keeps it alive and thriving. So there's a variety of sacred service teams that you can participate in here. Everything from greeters to ushers, events like last night's gala, and thank you, by the way, to all the sacred service team members. Without them, it would not have gone off as flawlessly as it did. It was amazing, so thank you. Audio and visual, and matter of fact, right now I am looking for a social media liaison. So anyone that's fluent in the language of social media, please see me after. I'm gonna be out in the lobby for anybody interested in sacred service. Also, we have an app for everything, and now we've added a Sacred Service tab to our app. It's under events. You can just click on Sacred Service under events, sign up that way. We talk about changing the world here at CSL, and we all know that takes a team, and it takes work. And together, I believe we can move mountains. So, like I said, I'll be out in the lobby. Please come see me afterwards. And I'd just like to end with a quote by the musician James Durst, who said, "At the end of the day, it's not about what you have or even what you've accomplished. It's about who you've lifted up, who you've made better. It's about what you've given back." Thank you, and enjoy the service.
We are so grateful to have you. Thank you so much for coordinating our sacred service. So our core value today is service. So it is. We are here to experience love. I love how the Black History Month and the Love Month come together. Can you imagine that? Not by mistake, but it's orchestrated. So we're celebrating Black History Month and the Love Month, and we're talking about change. Wow. I have a video I want to share with you. This is done by our marketing partner, Baxter Martin. Let's look at this video. Welcome to CSL. And the greatest shift that we have in our life is moving from grief to resilience. This is what we're talking about today. And all month we've been talking about change. We've been talking about how change is challenging, sometimes unwanted, but it's possible. And that's why we are looking at change this month. So moving from grief to resilience, and I think one of the greatest examples that we have is our enslaved ancestors. And I say ours because once people have crossed over into the realm of the ancestors, they no longer, I got my background music, they no longer have color, gender, they no longer have a race. They simply are our ancestors that are here to guide us, to move us, and to bring us forward. So I say our enslaved ancestors. The enslavement was an experience. It wasn't who they are or who they were. It was an experience. So we're looking at grief today, and let's look at what grief really is. Grief is a deep sorrow caused by death and an appearance of loss, a powerful disruption in one's life. Now, I say an appearance of loss because I believe that there is nothing lost in the mind of God. There is nothing lost in the mind of God. And yes, we do have people who've made transitions into life after life, but their spirit is still here with us, the ancestors. They're still here. And yes, we go through the grief of losing people. And I'm not here to tell you your grief is not valid. I'm not here to tell you that you do not need to go through your grief. You are going through your grief because it is a human experience. But it's something that's greater, that's emerging from our grief. There are 7 stages of grief, and we've all gone through this. So this is not a unique experience. This is a deep experience that is shared with everyone. These 7 stages of grief is shock, denial, bargaining, guilt, anger, depression, and then hope. We've all gone through these stages. So, during Black History Month, and, I do a lot of study of the enslaved ancestors, and I was looking at the Middle Passage. If you do not know what the Middle Passage is, the Middle Passage was the travels from the enslaved ancestors from the homeland to Virginia. The first slave landed in Virginia in 1619. That was the first documented enslaved ancestor. So the Middle Passage was incredibly horrendous. The experience was deep. And can you imagine this? You're going out to the shores for a picnic or to the water, or you're just doing your everyday life, and here comes someone who snatches you and puts you in a dungeon. That's a shock. Can you imagine being in a dungeon and thinking, what is going on here? What is happening here? This can't be true. Denial. And then can you imagine being in the slave ships going into where you don't even know where you're going? You're bargaining, God, if you can just get me out of this. I don't want to feel this. If you imagine the guilt that our enslaved ancestors felt because they could not help one another, and then the anger, and then, of course, the depression of working in the fields, but then there's hope. See, this message did not actually begin in enslavement, and it did not end there either. President Obama, that's a rising up. That's a rising up from enslaved ancestors, from that grief to resilience. Now, this grief is a journey. It is an absolute journey. And what is the journey all about? Number one, it's awakening. It's awakening to love. I really truly believe that our grief was designed for us to receive love. Mark Nepo, in a book called Upon Awakening, says this, that if we look at the rain and the water that carves a little bit of into the land, a little bit of corners into the land to water the little flowers, this is what life does to us. It carves to allow love to water our hearts. It is a journey of the totality of life. Because there is not just the good things that we like to experience, and there's just not the things we don't want to experience. The totality of life and the totality of God and the universe, it is an full experience. My mother used to say to me, at one point in my life, I was going through a lot of grief. And she would always say to me, son, it came to pass not to stay. And then she would also remind me of a scripture that would say that a weeping man endures through the night, but joy comes in the morning. If you're here in your grief right now, you're not meant to stay here. You're here to rise up. You're here to have this awakening of your strength, of your power, how you can endure anything. You just don't give up. I believe grief is an awakening to compassion, because how can you be compassionate with someone if you're not going through something yourself? See, we go through these experiences so that we may rise up and help someone else. I guarantee you that service, as Maya was talking about, what she has gone through has helped her to help other people. Okay, there we go. We're back on again. Going through it. I'm growing through it, absolutely. So grief also is a journey to the participation of life in an emergence experience, the fullness of life. It's a self-realization. There's been moments in the middle of my grief, I felt more alive than when things were going okay. I woke up. When you're in the middle of the grief, there are 3 questions I want you to ask yourself. What is seeking to emerge? Or another way of saying that is, what am I here to learn? Second question, who am I? The third question is, how can I serve? Those are your 3 questions in the middle of your grief. I love this saying that you've heard before. The pain will push until the vision pulls. The vision pulling us is a movement to resilience. Let's look at resilience. Resilience means this. It's the capacity to recover from difficulties. It is the toughness to withstand adversity from life. See, life on life terms, the ebb and flow of life, it will take you on a roller coaster. You'll either roll with it or you'll get rolled over by it. Your choice. Your choice. And when we understand that we have the capacity and we have the ability to withstand anything, then we're able to move forward. There is a process in building resilience. It doesn't happen overnight, and sometimes it does. But most of the time, it takes a process. I'm going to give you 5 D's of the process of building resilience. The first one is drive. And when you think about driving, we drive forward. Although some of y'all Florida people drive sideways. I don't know how you do that, but you do. But we drive forward. Think about driving forward. What are we driving to when we're driving towards resilience? We're driving forward to our vision. We're driving forward to the universe. We're driving forward out of our grief and suffering. And the Buddha says that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. We don't have to suffer. When we choose not to suffer, we want to drive forward to some place. We're driving forward to God, to love, embracing life again. Some of us have to learn how to love again. Trust. The next D is determination. Determination is, I'm not going to give in to my suffering today. I am willing to do the work to shift my experience. Suffering is not something you have to do. Yes, we'll go through the pain, but you're determined not to give in to your suffering. Devotion is the next D. Devotion to the divine. Your love for God is the most important thing that you can have. Your love, your love for spirit, your love for life, your love for the intentionality of growth. It's the most important thing that you can have. Everything comes from our devotion. In yoga, we call it bhakti yoga, the devotion to the divine. So those who get on the mat, they're there to be in devotion to Spirit. When we come together in a community, that is devotion. That is devotion to one another. This is fellowship. Devotion to the divine. Your fourth D is discipline, and this is a big one. The discipline will bring us to a place of transformation. It requires the work. You've heard Dr. Chris and myself talk about meditation. We have to sit. And it's not a good meditation, not a bad meditation, it's just meditation. And some days we sit because we know eventually we will shift. Sometimes we get the endorphins. Sometimes that was a great meditation. Ooh, sometimes it's not. But we are disciplined to sit no matter what because it changes our life. We're disciplined in prayer. We're disciplined with all the things that will bring us to a transformation. We are disciples of transformation. And the last one is direction. Sometimes we have to ask for help. We have practitioners here. I'm a practitioner. We have practitioners here that when you don't or you can't see the love that you are, you sit in front of a practitioner and allow the practitioner to hold space for you. Ask for direction. The greatest direction that we can ask for is direction from within. And the only way we can get direction from within, we must have a practice of sitting down and listening. Sitting down and listening. So we start smart. So we start smart and slow and baby steps. That's what we do. I want to share a story with you of this transformation. One of the greatest mystics, teachers I've ever known, that I've ever been in the presence of studying. This mystic came to life in a little book, and I just feel like I know him, but yet I've never met him. George Washington Carver. Do you know who George Washington Carver is? Yeah? Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper. And if you don't know who George Washington Carver is, there's a great little book. It's called The Man Who Talked with Flowers. It's by Glenn Clark. Please check it out. But let me tell you a little bit about George Washington Carver, this journey. George Washington Carver was born a slave. Before he was born, his father died. Him and his mother and his sister were kidnapped by night riders to be taken to Arkansas. And it was his master at the time, Carver, who actually gave him his last name, Carver, actually negotiated his release with these night riders. Here's something that we don't all know about this, but I've done the research. George Washington Carver was castrated as a young boy. And that's what they did back then when you were around a lot of or white women. That's what happened. He was a frail and sickly child. But that's a great amount of suffering. That's a great amount of grief, but that was not his end game. That was just the beginning. His adopted mother, Susan, because he could not work in the fields, took him into the house and said, I'm going to teach you everything else you need to know. Taught him how to cook, how to clean, how to take care of the home. She also introduced him to herbs. Herbs. And so he began to play with herbs and began to create medicine with the herbs. And he fell in love with the plant. He fell in love with soil. This is what he did. In 1894, he was the first African American to receive a bachelor's degree from Iowa State University. He went on to get his bachelor's degree in botany. He was invited by Booker T. Washington to come to Tuskegee University and to become one of the greatest teachers and professors ever known. He discovered crop rotation, which is still used today, and we've all benefited from crop rotation. If you ate an apple or an orange or you ate any type of a vegetable this week, thank George Washington Carver because he created the idea of crop rotation. After years of growing cotton in the South, the land was really dead. So it was George Washington Carver that said that if we plant nutrient plants to refuel the earth, we're going to be able to grow things again. So he began to plant peanuts, soybeans, and sweet potatoes. George Washington Carver created the first mobile classroom that he traveled from farm to help farmers to create a better crop. He also developed 300 foods, industrial, commercial products from the peanuts. And here's just a few of them. From the peanut, he created peanut milk. I've never had it. It's a thing. Peanut milk. He created Worcestershire sauce. We all use it, yeah? Cooking oils, salad dressings, cosmetics, soaps with stains. Also from the peanut, he created and invented peanut-based medicines, antiseptics, laxatives, things that we use today. He also traveled from here to India, and he worked with Gandhi, who was also experiencing a lack of food. They couldn't figure out how to grow food for the Indian population. They worked together. He was asked, George Washington Carver was asked in an interview, how do you know so much? How do you know so much? George Washington Carver said, I get up every morning at 4 a.m. and I talk to God. That's discipline. He told him that he would ask God for direction through the plants. He would look at the plant and he would know that the universe was in that plant, and God would tell him exactly what was to be used in that plant. Direction. Here's a statement from George Washington, a quote from George Washington Carver, which I love. You have to love it enough. Anything will give up the secrets if you love it enough. That's what George Washington Carver said. That's devotion. I'm here to tell you this, my friends. Your grief and your suffering is not your end game. It is your journey. It is your doorway. It is your invitation to rise up. We can use what we go through as a way of becoming who we were meant to be. It is your beginning. It is not your end. We can make change that will not only affect us, because it starts with us first, but it will affect the world. Don't allow your grief to hold you back. Yes, we go through it, but a change is coming. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you just to listen to this quote. This quote is everywhere in my house now. It's in all my journals. It's a reminder for me. Dream like Martin. Lead like Harriet. Fight like Malcolm. Think like Garvey. Write like Maya. Build like Madam C.J. Speak like Frederick. Educate like W.E.B. Believe like Thurgood. Challenge like Rosa. Invent like George. Put your hands on your heart right now. Touch your heart. I want you to repeat after me. I am here to rise up. Say it again. I am here to rise up. I am here to rise up. I am here to rise up. Rise up, my family. Rise up. Rise up. And so it is. Amen. Sometimes we just have to hear it, and we say yes to it. The yes is always there. It's our willingness. It's our willingness. It's our willingness to change. It's to rise up. It's our willingness to release the shame and the guilt. Sometimes a simple willing to be willing is all you need. We get to meditate here. We get to go into a place where Spirit will meet us there.
I breathe out, I breathe in, I am still, I go within. When I quiet my mind, in the stillness I find. Spirit meets me there. Spirit meets me there.
This morning we get to build resilience. We get to go through the practice of cultivating. We get to look at ourselves. We get to go within and recognize in areas that we are continuing to suffer because that's all we've ever known. We get to ask God for direction. How can I be more? How can I serve? How can I find peace of mind again? Everything that we need is within us. But the meditation practice is a requirement for transformation. So let's meditate together. And as we go into that sacred space, allow Spirit to give you direction. How good it is to meet Spirit right where we are. How good it is to remember that we are the divine emanation of the one of love. This oneness permeates as each and every one of us and is in our time of quiet and peace that we know everything. This one power, this one presence, it is our doorway to everything. And as we are willing to release the time of suffering when we are ready, we step into joy. We step into loving again. We step into life again. This is our practice.
I breathe out, I breathe in, I am still, I go within. When I quiet my mind, in the stillness I find. Spirit meets me there. Spirit meets me there.
All right. So it's time to do our affirmations. You have an affirmation card on your seat. Let's do it together. Yours is like mine. I wrote this one, and some of you have said to me, you like my long affirmation. So I'm going to keep writing affirmations the way I keep writing affirmations. So let's let's say it together here. My mind is a tool to support my spirit. I have dominion over my thinking. My thoughts and speech supports my intention. Yes, it does. So let's know this together. I begin each prayer with gratitude because gratitude shifts into the right space of my heart. I am grateful for this community. I'm grateful for CSL. I'm grateful for each and every person that has said yes today to be here with us and online. I'm grateful to know that the one power, the one presence I call love is active here. That is the only thing that is happening. This power of love is life. It's the life of each and every person here. There's no spot that love is not. So we celebrate. We celebrate in oneness and unity. It is so good to know that we can have our own shift out of suffering to rise up. And the work that we do here shifts the planet. I know that the time is right. The time is now for us to be who we are meant to be. I'm blessing this community, knowing that we do amazing work here, blessing all the kids and all the children. Oh, we celebrate love. We celebrate life. I know that this is a good day to carry this message into our communities, and we will shift this planet. And I give thanks, releasing this word into the law, knowing it's already done. And so it is. Amen. Amen.
Thank you for watching, and thanks for supporting CSL. If you'd like to know more about us, check us out on our website or social media. Blessings.